Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. My name is Jason, aka Woo Woo J Train. Welcome to Off the Rails. Very special guest this evening. I've worked together a couple times in the past. I've always had a great time whenever we have my wonderful guest on. We've got our guy Billy Jones stopping in tonight. Billy, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for coming on. I know we've been working on connecting for a little bit. It's nice to see you again, and I'm excited to draft with you again. Always a great time, man.
Yeah, for sure. I love basketball, and this is year two of me playing basketball. And I started out with football, but I'm like a baseball guy. I played college baseball. It's definitely who I am. Is and I identify as someone as like a baseball player. So once I got fell in love with underdog like best ball baseball, the MLB format, it's just been like full steam ahead for me, and it's been a ton of fun being on Stacking Dingers this year and just really diving into baseball data.
Yeah, and I was gonna, I watched the most recent episode you guys did. So if you don't know Billy Jones, you can find him on Twitter X at SportsVizBJ. He also is one of the contributors to the Stacking Dingers channel, and they just did an incredible episode on stacking. Ton of great data, ton of great visuals. If you have not watched that yet, like if I had to pick one piece of content for you to watch in the Stacking Dingers, guys, I think it would be this stacking episode because it had a ton of great information, not just about stacking, but constructions and advance rate over expectation, stuff like that. So it was great, man. You guys did great work on this most recent one.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun to look back at historical data and see what was had done well from a construction perspective, and more stacks or bigger stacks are better. But there's so many different ways to tease that out that I'm sure that we'll get to in the future. But also, we talked about some offensive environments, which seem to be the best for scoring runs in this year, and had a little bit of discussion about that. And then also some stacks that we were building so far this year, the three of us. So yeah, it was a fun conversation, and we're definitely going to be building something fun today and getting a little bit creative.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely want to take advantage of stacking if we can in our drafts that we're going to do tonight. One thing that I wanted to make sure that we did. So the last time you and I got together was on your channel, and we did a dinger draft together. It was your entry, and we proceeded to draft the highest scoring team in the entire contest for the regular season portion. So
Yeah, we did.
here's the roster. Uh, so let me try to. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit better. Um, so this team was incredible. I went back and I watched the stream from last year, and this was a real team effort. There was only a couple of quote mistakes. We took Grayson Rodriguez over Logan Gilbert, like we had both of them queued up, and we took Grayson over Logan Gilbert. That wound up like it was fine, but Logan Gilbert would have smashed in that spot. But we did a 776 build on this team out of the 4-hole. And we actually had a guy in our draft in one of the first 3 slots. He took Freddie Freeman to start. So we actually got Ohtani to fall. So we went Ohtani, Alonso. You can see we did a few stacks here with the Dodgers, with the Mets. We did some Colorado stuff. The Sean Bouchard thing is my fault for mentioning his name. We got a little off the rails, if I could, on that one. But dude, this team was incredible.
Yeah, it was great, and we our intent was to do something. How am I going to phrase this? So we wanted to build a stack that wasn't necessarily like aligned with ADP, and what that meant was taking Lindor and pulling him up what was like about a full round so that you could get Alonso, Lindor, and Nimmo. And we had a nice clean Mets and Dodgers, kind of like the best pieces that you could realistically draft together. And there was a time during the summer when the Mets were just cooking, and this team was just scorching. And I think one thing that's interesting about this pitching staff is if you scroll up to the pitching staff, like there's some people that did awesome, but they really kind of layered points throughout the season very well. Like it was just like they all really contributed, and Skubal had that mega season, but he still wasn't like an outrageous scorer on this team just because everyone was able to be healthy and putting up points throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, we went with the Cutter Crawford thing. He was the last pick, the second to last pick on this team. And he wound up smashing from, the 19th, 20th round sometimes. Lodolo got hurt. But other than that, like this staff was great. I loved, at the time, I said it, when you reached to get Lindor to force that Alonso Lindor Nimmo stack that was going to be super rare. I absolutely loved that. And then, the Teoscar thing was there. Like we weren't in love with his price, but stacking him with Shohei just made sense. And then of course, clean. I mean, we just hit the nuts in getting Duran and Rooker on the same team too. Like it was a smash team.
Yeah. And the Duran and Rooker were just targets throughout the entire season and was very helpful for my advance rates. And it was kind of like, okay, play the premium stacks and then get the right pieces on top of it. And this team just went nuclear. Very close with kind of pulling the Colorado. We went, as you said, kind of pulled Sean Bouchard at the end, getting a little creative to stack up Colorado. That could have easily been Brenton Doyle, and this team would have had another level. But
right.
Yeah, so this is the board here. Can you see that? That's best.
There we
go. And I think it was kind of just relatively straightforward start. And you had Acuna, Soto, Judge, Ohtani, us, and then really the only thing that I did here is this Lindor pick. I think he was going somewhere over here, and it was just crazy to think of him to bring him all the way up. But
I think his ADP at the time was 38. So you pulled him up almost a full round because there was no way we were going to get him to come back and then also be able to get Nemo. Like it was a very, very smart, creative way to force a good stack that we liked. And, we had all stacked hitters through the first, 5 picks of the draft, which is nice. So, I mean, had the Ketel Marte one off. Like if Muncy had stayed healthy, I mean, good Lord. But this was just, it was a fun team, and in true heartbreaking best ball fashion, although this team scored more points than any other team in the regular season portion, it did not get out of the first round of the playoffs. So,
yeah.
It's
I love that they continue to grow the best ball platform on Underdog, and I think the tournaments that they provided this year are really good. They got a good spread, a little eliminator, a more expensive eliminator, the flagship, they have a little bit higher cost and a little lower cost, different advance rates. I love it. I was hoping there was going to be some level of a marathon that was just like a season-long tournament just because of this team. Last year, I was like, this team would have won. And so I didn't know this, that this is the best team. And Aiden Tist Onion Wings on Twitter. And he messaged me, and he's another best baller. He does a lot of MLB content too. And he messaged me. He's like, you drafted like the best team last year by a lot. And I was like, I knew the team was really, really, really good. You and I were messaging all season, but I didn't know it was kind of head and shoulders number one.
I knew we had something come advancement time because everybody sends, and myself included, the tweets like, here's my best team. And like my best team was like 2,000 points less than this. Like it was maybe 1,600. Like it wasn't even close. And I advanced 30% ish of my teams last year, and not a single one of them came anywhere close to this. So, even though you didn't receive any money for having the best team in the regular season portion, I think it's just really cool that you can say that you had the best team in the entire contest for the regular season. It was really awesome to be a part of that experience and draft this team with you. And
So funny that it was done on a live draft too. I have this like I like to draft in like the weird corners of the night when people fall asleep on their drafts and stuff like that. But my best team came when I think we knew multiple people in this draft, and it's like
yeah,
again, I think it's pretty sharp room.
it
Um,
was. I mean,
yeah,
there's names we recognize. I mean, there's, Grill was in here, Chip, he's ass. But Chip was in here.
Bjorn.
Just kidding. I love you, Chip. T-Bear was in here. Bjorn Masterson was in here. Like a lot of names that we see, especially when we do streams. I see Devin Itley a lot. I remember seeing him a lot last year. So like this was not just a donkey room. There were some sharp drafters in here. Just we basically nailed everything you needed to nail. So really great experience. And, I don't think it's unreasonable for us to go ahead and just do that again. So
That's the goal, right?
yeah. So let's go ahead and get into a draft. Let me shift my screens around here real quick. I have not looked to see where we're at on one. So let me do that real quick. I don't want to rug anybody.
And I think the plan for tonight is you're going to draft, and then maybe we'll flip it, and then I'll do a draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Depending if, like, unless when this first one finishes and it's like 11 to fill, maybe we have to reconsider at that point. But
yeah, we need 6
goal.
more. So we'll have hopefully we got people here in the chat who would be willing to join in. Do want to acknowledge some of the chatters. Ant-Man showing up early, popping back a few beers, probably wasted from tailgating. Welcome. Yeah, the backdoor Duran O'Neal stack. Yeah, that's right. I forget that O'Neal was on the Red Sox last year sometimes. Ricky chiming in. Good luck, boys. Thanks for popping in, man. Love seeing you in here. Can't wait to see you in the lobbies this year, hopefully. But yeah, we're Rob Dove chiming in here. Like we're gonna go ahead and draft a team. Still waiting on the bat to come out. I mean, I know there's other projection systems out, and this is, you're going to bring actual data and knowledge to this stream, which it normally lacks in. So I appreciate that. But,
no, I thought the bat just came out today.
Oh, did it? I must have missed that. Okay, cool.
Well, she messaged us saying, okay, it's live.
Cool.
In some level. So I'm going to definitely take a look at it.
Well, eventually, I'm sure our guy, Baseball, will create his handy little spreadsheet, or somebody out there will create a little spreadsheet that'll convert that to underdog points, and then we'll have the bat to use to draft on. That's the primary projection system I use. I know there's a bunch out there and ATC aggregates and stuff like that, but that's just kind of my go-to. I don't know about you.
Yeah, maybe it's out. It looks like you click on it and takes you to a page, but I don't know. Curious. That brings us to our topic for this week. Is we're going to be talking about projections and kind of comparing some of the different ones. And I did a bit studying today on the different projection systems and how they're kind of created. It is really interesting how different they are.
Yeah, and that's I like to use those projection systems as a way to tell me if I've been guessing right or wrong so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Max Muncy has been an absolute smash at his old ADP and his current ADP. I don't really know that until projection systems come out, but it feels right. So it'll be nice to see the bat say he's the 80th best player in the field and we're drafting him in like 150s. You know what I mean? I'm really excited to kind of see what I'm right and wrong on. So
yeah. So we're the 12 pick here. How you been drafting that?
I've been doing it pretty standard, but you know what, man? I think we're gonna get a little weird on this team. I say we do something a little funky.
Okay.
So when I'm in the 12, what I've been doing is hoping and praying that like Tatis lands in my lap. That doesn't really happen, but if it does, then I'm really happy. I feel really bad leaving the first and second round without at least one outfielder. So lately, I've been taking whoever the infielder is. It's usually Ramirez or Betts, and pairing them with one of Schwarber, Rodriguez, or Duran. I am basically fading Churio right now. I don't necessarily love that, but it's really, really hard for me to make a case for him over Schwarber, J Rod, and even Duran right now. Again, waiting to be able to run through projection systems and see if that's a correct thought process, but that's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and so when you get your the bat came out, what are you gonna do with it? Just like take the total points and points per game, or are you gonna like comb it in a certain way? How do you process the bat coming out?
Primarily just going to look at total points as a start. But I think you can definitely back into, points per plate appearance. Like, I'm really interested to see where Mike Trout is ranked in the bat, because obviously he's had a lot of difficulty staying on the field. But I can envision him being, like if you juiced his games up 20 or 30 more, like where does he rank after that? Okay, 12 and 13. So I was going to do kind of a crazy Dodgers thing and go Betts and Freeman. But I think I'm just going to go ahead and
just take the top two is the way I would do it.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to do Ramirez and Schwarber. I have, out of these three, Schwarber, J-Rod, and Duran, I have more J-Rod, like a lot more than the other two. And then I think Duran and Schwarber are kind of even-ish on my exposures so far. So I want to boost those numbers up a little bit.
Yeah, and so if we're contemplating like the move someone around kind of concept that we did previously, and that's what made that team so awesome. I was like, okay, Schwarber, do we pull up Bryce Harper and then put Trey Turner on that team? But it feels like pretty expensive to go from Ramirez to Bryce Harper. It's kind of crossing like a tier plus almost. Yeah. And so I'm like, it doesn't seem right. But that's a Schwarber, Harper, Trey Turner. If I can somehow pull that into my portfolio, I want to make it happen. It may just have to wait until someone, like I hope Trey Turner kind of falls down the board a little bit, maybe clearly into like the fourth round and not at the 3-4 turn.
Yeah, I've been getting to quite a bit of Trey Turner. I look at where he's at, and he's right next to, let's go down to him here. He's among this group of outfielders that I don't really like taking. And if I compare Trey Turner to Ketel Marte, just in my head, I'm leaning Trey Turner the vast majority of the time. So in this range, like for me, it's Trey, Seager, Alonso, and Machado are like the four that I'm kind of targeting, depending on who I got in the first round, if I can do some stacking. But I really do not like this range of outfielder because like they're fine, they're good, but it doesn't feel like there's much ceiling with Happ, Reynolds, Harris, or Steer right now.
Yeah, it's like it's just like, okay, they're fine. You didn't lose, you didn't win. You're moving on to the next decision. I feel like with that range of outfielders, you kept yourself on structure, and that's okay. But you definitely didn't win it because of them.
So what are we thinking kind of leading into the next two picks? I always try to, especially when we have those back-to-backs, I want to be a little bit more prepared going in. So, right now we've got J-Ram and Schwarber. To me, it's kind of like, given what I just said about this range of players, like if Trey Turner is there, I want to take him to stack him with Schwarber. But I'm not 100% sure. This might be like a 3 infield start for me because I just don't love these outfielders. And truthfully, 3 infielders in the first 4 picks is a build that I'm not doing very often. So it'd be a way to kind of change up my portfolio a little bit.
It's not that bad either. It's not like you're that far behind. You just have to be conscious about it through the rest of the draft.
Right.
Um,
What it does, I mean, to me, in my head, if we go that route, I'm turning off infield until probably round 15 or 16. Like I'm not even
yeah,
kidding.
that's an early crochet.
It is, but like I get it. The dude is, yeah, he's the thing. Like week to week
Yeah.
scoring, I think he's got as much upside as pretty much anybody.
Okay, so let's start up Turner, and then we
Mm-hmm.
can let that run a little bit. So I guess the question I'm going to pose to you is, how are we going to handle pitching? Are we going to do it your way? Are we going to put on an elite pitcher and let Zach Wheeler? Or are we going to do it my way and push pitcher for a little while? Or are we going to get somewhere in between? What are your
We're
thoughts?
gonna get somewhere in between because I don't really want to take Wheeler this early,
Okay.
because I'm going to be behind at outfield at this point. Um, I kind of want to do this elite infield like just bludgeon to death thing. So Pete Alonso and maybe
Love it.
Toronto or Corey Seager in Texas. And Texas is my favorite team to stack right now.
Um, let's do Alonzo. I haven't been a big fan of his in this format. I mean, like, I understand from like a real life baseball perspective, he just like can be frustrating, but um, but he hits the ball to the moon, and like
Yeah.
that batting average doesn't matter here.
No, I don't care if he goes, 8 for 70 in a week. I'm making up ridiculous numbers, I know. But like, I don't care if he bats .080 in 1 week. It's the 4 home run week that I care about with him.
And
So,
we know that when players sign, they go up just because of, oh, I want to stack this player. I'm willing
yep.
to move that like a couple picks ahead of ADP, and it just kind of will happen. Um, and as long as he doesn't land somewhere like atrocious, I don't think that's in the cards. But like if he goes back to the Mets, this is going to go up. So
Yep.
getting decent shares of him right now is a good play.
I've like kind of seen murmurs that he's linked to Seattle. Like that would suck, but he would be a nice stacking partner at that point for J Rod and a guy that I like later in the draft. Um, Hilariously, like I have been pretty much against drafting catchers the first 2 years I've done best ball, minus William Contreras from last year. But this year, like Cal Raleigh
Oh yeah,
seems like a steal. So if he went to Seattle, definitely not a great ballpark. I mean, the Mets ballpark isn't either. City Field's not great either. But I think that I would be more inclined to get even more J Rod and Cal Raleigh at that point, just to stack them up. But if he goes to Toronto, if he goes back to the Mets, like his price is going to increase pretty quickly, I think.
yeah. I mean, I haven't done a ton of consciously trying to stack Pete Alonso. I mean, I could let him just kind of be on various different teams. Like I stack, and TLDR, if you're not going to do the Stacking Dingers episode from this week, but you should. But if you're not going to, stacking is good. Bigger stacks within reason are also good ways to build. So like, but I like to stack, but like I also just want to play the best plays some level too. But
Yeah.
Alonso only has so many teams he's going to reasonably land on at this point, so you can just be like, do some Toronto, and then
Mm-hmm.
do some Mets, and like what you're going to high likelihood of being right.
Yeah, and I'll pull up your graph here in just a second after we make these two picks here, but um, you know, the stacking thing, like definitely want to do it. I'm not necessarily gonna like go completely out of my way early to do most stacks. Like I'll do something crazy with the Braves or the Dodgers or something because they're just in a different tier. Um,
Brenton
Dan and
Doyle.
I have this habit of ruining each other's lives when we're in drafts together. Because I was going to snap pick Yelich there. Um, how do we feel about Cody Bellinger in New York?
Uh, okay.
Okay.
I just don't think he's ascending, but I don't think it's a bad pick. And then Do you want to do Brenton Doyle after that?
Let's do it.
Maybe?
Let's do both of them. Yeah,
Cool.
let's do
So-
Bellinger and do Doyle as well. We could stack Castellanos, but I'm completely out on him at ADP right now.
Yeah, so I really like Doyle this year. I have like I'm definitely like way overweight Doyle at this point in the draft season. I need to wind that back a little bit, and it comes down to a couple things. So in this range, outfield isn't overly inspiring, but an outfielder that's going to hit leadoff in Colorado is inspiring to me.
Mm-hmm.
Then also from a structure perspective, outfielders keeps you on structure, and then Colorado late out infielders is a great way to pair this up too. So there's just like a couple things that I'm like, okay, Doyle, like I'll start off my Colorado stack with Doyle because there's not really. I got burned by. We all got burned by Nolan Jones last year, so I'm like not inspired to go back to him. That's my outfield option. So yeah.
I've been getting to quite a bit of Nolan Jones just because he's a 14th rounder now. You know, like I'm okay with paying a 14th round price for Nolan Jones and having it not work out than last year when you were paying a fourth round. I think it was third round price for him. And it went horribly. This year though, it's kind of like, okay, last year he had trouble staying healthy. Let's operate on the assumption that he's just healthy this year. Maybe he's not incredible, but if you're only spending a 14th round pick on him, I mean, you don't need him to put up 1,500 points. If he puts up 1,250 or 1,300, you're like, all right, I'm good with that. So, but you're right. There's a lot of fun little stacking pieces. We've got our thumbnail cover boy, Michael Toglia. He has been dropping, I think, in ADP lately, but he's a guy who could be like Adam Dunn and hit like 210, but hit 40 home runs. I mean, 40 is a little optimistic, but he's got a lot of power.
I'm so in on Toglia. Like,
yeah,
it's Colorado is going to be a big part of my portfolio this year.
Okay.
Shocking move. Colorado is a great way to play best ball. But that's. I looked at his. I'm obsessed with his Baseball Savant page. He's got like red everywhere. He hits the ball really hard. He's a switch hitter, so doesn't have this like platoon risk, as well as he had a horrible first month plus last year, and then after that got increasingly better. So I could see a world where 230 with 35 home runs, and that is like so inspiring to me. Who is it going to be this year's Brent Rooker? It may not be an outfielder. It could be just a first baseman.
I agree. Crew's saying market feels hesitant on Doyle, and I think the Nolan Jones situation is playing a role. I mean, I'll tell just straight up, I've been very hesitant on Doyle. I've only drafted him a couple times. I feel like his price is efficient. You know, like I don't necessarily know that we're overpaying for him, but we're closer to overpaying than underpaying, in my opinion. And to a point, like the way that I've been building teams, I'm usually not looking for an outfielder in, you know, the 6th round or something. I've usually got 3-ish at least by the time we get there. And I just would rather have other stuff. But I want to pull up this graph that you have for stacking. So let's go ahead and pull that bad boy up here. So these are American Team League stacks, basically, you know, grouped by teams at ADP. So I'll let you take it on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of simply, I just wanted to, I am very visual. So charts and graphs and plots, this is kind of how I like to look at data. And I thought that this is an interesting way to see kind of if I wanted to build out a team or a stack, how would I go about doing that? So each line, you get by round, and then you got the player names and colored by the way that we see them colored in our Underdog app. And I thought that this is just really helpful and kind of what I want to construct. We talked about it in the show, but a stack that's interesting to me on here is the Rangers. And you'd mentioned how you're building a lot of Rangers, but if you really want to build the full like premium Rangers, you can't really do Seager, Adolis Garcia, and Marcus Semien at the same time. Okay, we're on the clock. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, you got to do what we did last year. You know, you gotta kind of dip. Let's see. I think this would be a good time to take our first pitcher. So,
Framber.
I am trying to even out a little bit in this range. I'm going to go ahead and take Framber Valdez. He's just an innings workhorse, and the strikeouts are going to be there. He just feels like a consistent, anchor to a staff. And then I would say either Taylor Ward or I don't want to take Cassis because we have enough infielders. So it's either Taylor Ward or maybe George Kirby for me here.
I like Taylor Ward. I am just so conscious of the outfield drop off. I understand that the big hits last year were 2 late outfielders, and I don't even consider the way Duran was being drafted. He wasn't that late. Rooker was the late pick. That he just was the smash. So while sure that he was the big hit, that was one guy. I am not trying to lean into late outfield and being. No. I think I played high level baseball, but I didn't I'm not an extreme ball knower in that sense. Yeah, I'm just super conscious of that.
There's just a lot of outfielders late that just suck too. I mean,
yes.
When you get late in outfield, not only are you looking at guys who just may not be very good, but you're looking at guys who are potentially so not very good that they're going to find themselves in platoon situations. And in this game that we play, every at bat that you can get in a week is important. So, if I know for certain that a guy is going to be in a platoon, it's going to make me very hesitant to want to click their name. But outfield just kind of falls off a cliff after this Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill range. I'm not drafting Lane Thomas. I have absolutely zero interest in George Springer. I don't care if I'm stacking Toronto. He's just not going to be part of it. Pete Crow Armstrong, can he actually hit? I don't know. His defense is insane, so he's going to be in the lineup, but I just don't know how good of a hitter he is. Soler works for stacks. Rafaela's price is insane. It's just after Taylor Ward, Tyler O'Neill, outfield gets pretty ugly pretty quick. So that's why I felt like we kind of had to click Taylor Ward's name there.
Yeah, and that Rafaela's price, I don't understand.
I don't know.
I can't. Maybe there's something there that I'm missing.
Yeah, I don't get it, but sorry, I wanted to pull your American League team stack. So yeah, we talked about the Rangers, and they are probably my favorite team to stack. But doing the Giga stack with them, where you get all of those top pieces, Wyatt, Seager, Semien, Adolis, it's almost impossible, especially with Seager, Semien, Adolis. They're close enough that it's just really hard to make those 3 picks together. But if you're kind of at the 1-2, you can usually get Wyatt, and then you could reach down to grab Seager, and then Semien and Adolis might be there when they come back around. I think that would be a really, really fun stack to try to pull off at some point this year.
So I was thinking about this after the show. I was the best ways to build this, and I think that it's with Juan Soto if you're going to build this. So you do Soto, Langford, Seager, Garcia, Semien. You're going to tack on Vientos later, and then you have this really premium Mets Rangers combo, and that's I could see that being absolutely cooking. And if Garcia for some reason wasn't there, there's a Nimmo out too. I think that was interesting. But yeah, this is just a visual way, and it allows for me to get a little creative.
Real quick, I got to throw us back on here. I still can't. We spent too much draft capital at infield for me to go back to infield right now.
Let's double tap pitching.
Okay. Fried?
Yeah, we've talked Fried on the side a couple times this year. And let's go Grayson. Yeah, let's get some upside.
Yep. The Grayson thing, I'm just, we'll see how he projects overall, but he's just kind of my flag plant this year. Well, he was kind of my flag plant last year. If you watched the team that we drafted, the best team that we drafted, I just think the breakout, like I'm betting on the breakout year happening. Like this was the former top pitching prospect in all of baseball. The pedigree is there. We just need to see it happen, and I don't want to miss it when it does.
Yeah, and this is like a very Billy Jones style pitching room where I think what we did so well last year is we got like the juiciest part of the draft for pitching.
Mm-hmm.
We waited, and then Scooble was like this range where there's just so much value there. And it's the same thing this year. Last year it was round 5. This year I think it's been pushed back to round 7. It definitely becomes a little harder in the sense like the round 4 and 5 this year are much grosser than it was last year from a bats perspective. But I think it's still think you kind of got to do it.
Well, and to that point, like that's kind of why. So last year, if you wanted to draft an elite ace, right, it started in like, round 3 or 4, right? So you could have 2 or 3 bats, and then you could start drafting ace pitchers if you wanted to. This year, I feel like I'm drafting at least 5 hitters, if not 6, before I even get to the majority of aces, So a lot of my builds have been, 0-2-3 or 1-2-2 or 1-1-3, something like that to start, because I feel like your bats early on, if you're correct on that team, they should be good enough to carry you so that you can get an ace or 2 and then fill in the positions, infield and outfield late. That's kind of how I've been approaching pitching this year.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear who you're attacking from a hitting late perspective, because for me, I've been filling mostly pitching late, and I need to switch that up a little bit because I'm getting way overweight on certain guys. And so this last year when we drafted this team, I think when I said it multiple times, like I'm so excited that like you're drafting and I'm like on the side, and then I'm drafting and you're on the side, so that like we can infuse different takes, because I don't know. I feel like I'm drafting the same team over and over again already, and I'm already 20 in.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that too, because I put so much of a premium on outfield. That's where a lot of my draft capital's going early. So we got T-Bear, and then we got Dan coming up. I just know it. I just know what's going to happen. Dan's going to smash my soul. Yep, he just did. All right, great. Dan, can you leave, please? Thank you. Jordan Westburg feels primed to kind of break out this year. Let's see.
We go for 8 ace, and then I'll explain. I understand that
okay.
This will be a 6 infield team, and then any pitcher of your choice.
McClanahan's too cheap, man. He's just too. I don't care about the 150 innings thing necessarily. I didn't mean to draft him there necessarily. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I know that he's only going to pitch 150 innings, and only is like that's enough to get through the bulk of the contest. My concern with him specifically is how are the Rays going to get him to that 150 innings? Is it going to be 5-6 innings max every single start for the whole year? Or are they just going to let him go, and then once they're out of it, because they probably will be out of it, then they'll shut him down? Obviously, I don't think we'll know the answer to that question. If it's the former and they're only letting him go 5-6 innings every start, I don't like it as much, because we need to make sure we're getting those points out of quality starts.
Yeah, I was going to ask, which do you prefer? Do you want Max McClanahan in a short stint and just get like as much best ball points out of him, and then when he drops off, you kind of fill it elsewhere? Or do you want him to be live as much throughout the season and just hope that you run into a 2-start week late?
Yeah, I want him to be live. I really don't have much hope for the 2-start thing late, especially with him, because, I mean, it would shock me if the Rays didn't go to a 6-man rotation on a pretty regular basis. Like they've got a lot of arms that can eat up some innings, but I don't think they're going to want to trot Shane Baz out there for too many innings. I don't think they're going to want to do that with Drew Rasmussen if they make him start. McClanahan's just coming off surgery. They're going to put the innings limit on him. Maybe they do the same to Taj late if they're out of it. Like, I'm not 100% sure what to make of that staff. What I do know is that Shane McClanahan is a dog, and getting him in the 11th round, like, I'm cool with taking him there, having him be awesome as long as I have him, whatever that is, and hopefully it extends into the playoff period of the contest. That's just kind of my take on him.
I think McClanahan also has potential to be a spring training riser. Oh, he's healthy. He's actually really healthy. Looks great. He's throwing as hard as he always ever was, kind of guy. So I think it's a smart pick. The reason I like Paredes is, so if you go on Baseball Savant, one of my favorite things to look at is like the box that shows if they were on a different team, how many home runs they would have hit. And his, if like as on the Astros, was max last year of any team. It's something like the Cubs were the worst that it could have happened to happen to him, and then the Astros are the best. So I'm excited for what he's going to do, potentially run it back to like 30 home run season. So yeah, that's my logic there.
It's, you know, him going to Houston with the Crawford boxes too. Like, he's a dead pull hitter. In that park, you know, it looks like it sets up pretty well for him. So Paredes is a guy that I was really in on the last 2 years. And I like the pick. I definitely like the pick. It's just a little hard to pick him at 130 than it was at 200, you know, the last couple of years. And that's stupid. That's not a reason to not draft a guy, but I have a hard time being like, man, I got so much value out of this guy last year. But I think his price is efficient, and I do think that he can run back. Like, he can hit 30 or 35 home runs in that park. Well, not in that park, but this season playing in that park.
Mm-hmm. So I think they took the cover boy from us. He should be sitting there.
He's gone. Yeah, he went at the turn at 145. So, and Muncy's gone too. So, so we were talking about kind of late hitters, and I don't know what your definition of late is, but I consider anything like in the teens and later to kind of get like late-ish. But Max Muncy just feels like just a horrible misprice. So I've got like 35% of him, I think, across all contests right now. I think we probably need to kind of bolster the outfield a little bit.
Agreed.
Do we take the leadoff guy in Detroit, or do we take the potential sometimes platoon bat in Texas and Jock? What do you think?
Can the answer be yes to both, or are you thinking like, I'm open to either?
I'm good with it. You want to double tap him?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm cool with that. Yeah, so we'll recap the team real quick. So we're picking out of the 12 spot. We currently have a 4-4-6 build. Pitching staff is Framber Valdez, Max Fried, Grayson Rodriguez, and Shane McClanahan. The infield, Jose Ramirez, Trey Turner, Pete Alonso, and Isaac Paredes. And then the outfield is Kyle Schwarber, Cody Bellinger, Brenton Doyle, Taylor Ward, Parker Meadows, and Jock Peterson. This outfield is very different than what I normally draft. It feels a little light to me, but I'm glad that I drafted it because I need to spread out a little bit more among these early outfielders. And Bellinger could set up really well in New York. Brenton Doyle feels appropriately priced. Like, this team is built pretty well so far. We gotta finish it off right.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's so tough. We're in the situation. If you scroll up to our like early picks.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Situation where it's like, okay, we don't like the outfielders at the 3-4 turn, but now we think that we're behind an outfield this later portion of the draft. So it's like, what are you going to do about it? It's like, I don't know, maybe just capitulate a little bit and that doesn't feel as good in the moment, but having the knowledge that the value is going to exist later elsewhere is kind of how it works. But
Yeah, I mean, what we
it's
need for
much harder draft environment this year than last year.
it is, and if you wait on outfield, it gets really hairy. Like you're gonna need to nail the late round outfielders, and I truly like I don't really know who that is. Like you can make a case that Byron Buxton's too cheap because when he does play, it's he's usually very, very good, but the when he does play part of the equation has been very, very difficult for his entire career. I mean, Wilyer Abreu doesn't do anything for me, and then you get to these St. Louis outfielders, and there's like 9 of them right next to each other: Brendan Donovan, Jordan Walker, Alec Burleson, Lars Nootbaar. Like they're all jammed together. So you're kind of figuring out, all right, if I want to do the Cardinals outfield thing, like which one or which 2 of them is actually going to play every day? It's possible that maybe they all do because Donovan plays infield a little bit too, if I'm remembering correctly. But like, it gets a little precarious. Like you're just kind of throwing darts when you get late. Like we're already there. And
we're already there in the point
Yeah.
where it's like you're skeptical about these players, and I, in general, don't want to be skeptical about the team like that I just put together, because I still think there's a great infielders and pitchers that are available and will be highly productive this year. So it's like I don't want to put myself in that box, but I also got to have this exposure to this team, like the other players in the range. So it's a balance. Yeah.
And this is a lot of times, this is where I'm getting a couple more of my pitchers too, because I mean, there's nothing in the outfield that I'm interested in really in this range. Like I might tack on. I mean, we still got a ways to get to those St. Louis outfielders. So like, this is where I've been getting another pitcher or 2 a lot. 2 of them just went back to back and fought. And Bradley, they're too cheap. I think Arrighetti is too cheap. Brian Wu, like I don't really know that I love it, but it looks like he might be very, very good. And I want to see the projections on him. But there's a lot. I mean, Brandon Woodruff, if we believe he's healthy, like he feels like a smash. So I feel like we're going to take a picture here, and I kind of want to just go ahead and do well, Brandon Woodruff went, so did Arrighetti. You guys, Dan is in my head, I think.
No, you're just a rookie streamer right now and telling everyone who you want before you pick them.
That I'm okay with that. It makes me pivot in the moment. Let's do the Brian Wu thing. And what do you think? Do we double tap pitcher? Like, how do you feel about a Christopher Sanchez or something?
What about Josh Young? Josh Young.
Say less. Like, okay. I believe
little Texas Mini right there.
Yeah, little Texas Mini. He is. I don't think he's my highest owned player, but he's close, man. Like, wrist things are scary. Like it is precarious when wrists get involved, and he's had a couple of surgeries. But if he's healthy in that offense, like, I mean, he just feels like he could just completely torch you if you don't have any of him, especially this late.
I think he's a really good baseball player.
Yeah, I do too.
Highly underrated. So I don't know. I think it's just a function of just not being able to play.
Yeah, I've got SB chiming in here. Thanks for coming in again, SB. And sorry, I'm just now reading this message. I know it was sent a while ago. Meadows played almost every day down the stretch. Yeah, true. Kerry Carpenter seems like the guy they kind of want to platoon with every once in a while, which sucks because I love watching that guy hit. It feels like Parker Meadows is probably going to be in the lineup every single day. I don't know quite what to do with Kerry Carpenter. Like, I want to draft him because he hits the ball very, very far sometimes. But again, if he's going to be stuck in a platoon situation, it's going to be really difficult for me to click him at 130. It feels like it's a little too expensive for a platoon bat if that's what happens.
See, I don't mind Kerry Carpenter just because even he's on the right side of the platoon, and when he does hit, he hits for power, so he's going to have the ability to spike. It's not like he doesn't have that like major upside in certain weeks. He does. So he's no
Yeah.
different than Jock. He's just a slightly more expensive version. So it's and that at that point I'm like, okay, fine. That's it. I just want to get some diversity across both.
Yeah, I need to work him in some more because, like you said, he's very good at hitting, and he can spike. You know, um, let's recap the build real quick. So we've got a 5-5-6, and I won't go through all the players again, but this probably feels like a 7-6-7 build to me.
Yeah, we're strong in infield.
Yeah.
So we won't need to get to 7 there.
I've got a couple guys in mind for like last outfield they're in. I'm angry that this keeps happening, that Garrett Mitchell keeps going. Like his price is increasing pretty quickly. He's starting to get, I'm seeing hype in like the roto streets. And Garrett Mitchell was a guy like, I don't know. It was a guy I was in on last year. Like he wasn't getting drafted in every single draft. And I was still at like, I want to say 12%, but that might as well have been 40 with how often he's being drafted. I'm just kind of banking on a breakout year from him. But let's finish off. This range really sucks. How do you feel about Jesus Sanchez?
I was actually going to reference him. I think he's probably like the only player from Miami that I want to be drafting this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Let's go ahead and finish off outfield with him. And then I'm just going to go ahead and let's get nice and boring and just go with Chris Bassitt. Like Chris Bassitt doesn't inspire me at all, but we're going to draft 7 pitchers. We've got upside arms with Framber. Fried has more upside than people think. You have a chart that shows that, I'm pretty sure.
I do.
Grayson, McClanahan, and Wu. I think all those guys have decent upside start to start. Chris Bassitt's going to go out there, and if healthy, he's going to throw 180 innings. He's going to strike out 160 to 170 guys and have an ERA of like 3.8, 4.2, something like that. Like nothing crazy, but also if three of these guys suck, like you're probably going to get a decently useful score out of Chris Bassitt.
I mean, every time he throws twice in a week, you should be using that plus a couple other games throughout the year, and he's a functional pick at this late in the draft. I think that is like something that's important. I have like a fascination with Clay Holmes, but there's a real possibility that he's not a starting pitcher like at the end of the season. Like that's an experiment that they did and it wasn't that great, and move him back to the bullpen. Like very real possibility. And Chris Bassett's that's not happening with him. So I think that there's just like a safety in the later parts of the draft, I find.
Okay. I might get weird with my last pick at pitcher. I think I'm going to. If he gets drafted ahead of me picking him, I will be a different level of floored. So I'm not going to mention his name right now, but what are we thinking in terms of our final infielder? So let's see. We've got some Texas. We don't have too many stacked hitters in this lineup, which, I'm okay with that here and there.
Find it so hard to do. So obviously I did the streaming thing last year, and I had a ton of fun doing it. And this year, it's like stacking dingers recorded. It's different. But building like out all the stacks that you want on stream, so much more difficult than if I'm doing this in like
Yeah.
in like a dark corner of a room and I'm just queuing them all up and like bing, 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 triangulating it all happening.
And, I'm going to stack a decent amount, but part of my portfolio is just going to be I'm just playing the best plays or what I think are the best plays, right? Like they don't necessarily have to be correlated to be great, but if you can get great guys together, obviously that is preferred. So I have an idea for a Houston guy. We can do another Philly guy. Let's see. This is harder to do on stream. I don't think we have any more Texas bats that we can reasonably go for. So we'll see what happens. I was really in on Kyle Manzardo until the Guardians signed Carlos Santana for some reason. Like I don't necessarily know if Carlos Santana is going to eat into Manzardo's playing time, but this dude's like, been one of the hotter prospects the last like year or two, and by all accounts can hit very, very well. So he's going to be a guy I'm going to be really kind of looking at during spring to see if things change with him. So I'm going to go ahead and just take over, and we're going to stack Yainer Diaz with Isaac Paredes.
I like it.
And then for the pitcher, I'm going to do something.
I'm so excited right now. I don't know if my face shows it, but
Hayden Birdsong.
Okay, tell me about him.
He has very, very solid strikeout stuff. So this is just one piece of it. I got to see where he's going to project, but here's his Savant page.
Okay, I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength. I pulled up the exact same thing on my side.
We see lots of red when it comes to K percentage, whiff percentage, fastball velocity. There's obviously a lot of blue here too. Okay, the chase percentage isn't where we want it to be. He gives up some hard hit balls. All right, but this last round, the pitchers are kind of to a point all the same in a way. Like there's nobody who's standing out. And I want to get a little weird sometimes. So this is the second time I've drafted him. I'm starting to look at Lucas Giolito again. But I don't know. He's a young kid. Looks like he's got great strikeout stuff. Let's go ahead and just take him now. And then if he shows up to spring and he smashes, he's probably going to rise. But if he's not, great. I mean, it's a 20th round pick. Like, who cares? To a point.
Yeah. So true. He's got I'm processing this in real time. I'm like, I love the pitch plot that he has. He's got 4 distinct quadrants that he's pitching to. But I also hate that hard hit percentage. He's in the first percentile.
Yeah.
He gives up walks too. So
when people hit the ball, they hit it extremely hard. So there's red flags here, right? So I don't know. I got you here. Want to try to do something a little outside the box and a little weird. Let's take a young kid who's got great strikeout stuff, and maybe he figures some other stuff out and doesn't, have the worst average exit velocity in baseball. Let's hope for that.
I like it.
I don't think that's too much to ask, Hayden. Just don't get rocked, dude. All right. Let's go back to the draft board, and we are almost fully done here. I think literally the last pick is being made right now. So let us refresh, and then we will recap the teams. Dan likes the Birdsong thing. That makes me feel good because Dan feel like really knows what he's doing. And I like that. Terrence apparently does not like his outfield, so we definitely have to look directly into it and roast you for it. Not going to roast you, but Let's see. Completed.
I'm gonna enter the next dinger and let that
Okay.
work its way.
Yeah, if you guys want to draft with us again, Billy's going to draft a team. He'll share his screen.
I'm in charge. One person. Let's go. Oh, waiting. Oh, wow.
All right.
Great.
So, recapping the team we just drafted. Are you waiting on one more person? Like, is it basically a full lobby?
Yeah, but it just filled. Yeah, I'm 11. Okay. So I got time.
Okay. Picked from the 12 hole. 7-6-7 build. Pitchers are Framber Valdez, Max Fried, Grayson Rodriguez, Shane McClanahan, Brian Wu, Chris Bassett, and Matt says he has the upside for sure, but his floor is 100%. Hayden Birdsong. Infield. Jose Ramirez, Trey Turner, Pete Alonso, Isak Paredes, Josh Young, Yainer Diaz, and then the outfield is Schwarber, Bellinger, Doyle, Ward, Meadows, Peterson, Sanchez. I feel great about the pitching staff. I feel great about the infield. I don't love the outfield, but I think we have enough here to at least make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do T-Bear's team real quick. Make fun of that outfield.
Okay.
And then we can jump over to my draft.
All right. Terrence's garbage team was a 7-6-7. I'm just kidding, man. 7-6-7 build. Crochet, Snell, Reagan, Zarragetti, Luzardo, Blanco, Chandler. Infield, Betts, Freeman. I like that. He did the Betts Freeman thing. Swanson, India, Bush, Lau. The outfield is Spencer Steer, Jason Dominguez, Lane Thomas, Soler, Helio Ramos, Nolan Jones, and Josh Lowe. I don't hate that at all. You have two of my favorite, like, late-ish outfielders in Nolan Jones and Josh Lowe. So I'm cool with the back half of this. The first half of it might be a little rough. We'll see. Anything can happen. But I'm going to bring up your screen here, man, so we can get this other draft going.
Yeah, so you can see my ranks are loaded in here. If you want to get those, they're available on the Stacking Dingers. We have our ranks available there. Mine are part of the composite ranks, but if you wanted mine exclusively, you could get there. You just kind of have to do a little bit of work, or you could just DM me and I'll send them to you. No problem. But yeah, this will be fun. I got Tatis up at the top. I'm actually really quite high on him, so I'm hoping we'll get him at 111.
Me too. So you got the 11th here. So it'll be interesting. Like, us switching off. We're not going to draft the same teams, obviously, but we're basically in the same position as each other. So I'm really excited to see how you/we build this team together.
Okay, so this is easy for me.
Yeah, that's just an auto. Yeah. And honestly, I don't care about all this noise about Strife and San Diego. Like, Tatis is just an amazing player.
Yeah, he's good at baseball. And that's like rule number 1 is draft good at baseball.
Yes. We like guys who are good at baseball.
So I have option A for you, any one of these awesome infielders. Option B for you is let's get funky with it and play San Diego.
My heart wants you to take Betts, but my soul wants you to take Merrill for the stack. So let's do Merrill.
Let's do it. Okay, last year we built a super team with this like knowledge of building a stack that is somewhat hard to build out. So we're going to do the same thing.
San Diego's got some nice back stacking pieces too late, solid floor guys, nothing really great as far as ceiling, but Xander and Jake Cronenworth are pretty late.
I'm really glad you did not say this name right here. Can I
take this further? Luis Arraez is undraftable to me. Clearly undraftable. I will not draft him a single time.
I see people drafting him all the time, and it makes me feel like people don't understand the format still. Yeah. And it's why, like, I understand when you said you're going to take projections, get total points, maybe do points per game. And I'm like, for me, even points per game is not give me enough insight on what these players do. I really care about players that steal bases because I don't care about stolen bases. Those are just nice to haves. They're not going to win you anything. And then I really care about people that hit doubles, triples, and home runs. And like if you're just someone a singles hitter, like average, I really plummet you down the board. So it's like these pure compilers, like they're not going to be hitting your roster. So sorry to go on this like rant here, but I do feel that there's just this corner of drafts that just don't understand what we're accomplishing here.
Yeah, every time I see the fact that Arraez is going as high as he is just utterly baffling to me. Like he is a great real life baseball player, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am not arguing that he's a bad baseball player. For this format, I find him pretty much
as an infielder. Like it's not even if he's like an outfielder that compiles and like quangs his way to being functional. Like he is an infielder, the deepest position we have with a ton of power. Like, sorry, like
yeah, I'm completely with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a fun start though, doing the Tatis Merrill thing. I like that a lot.
So we're a couple picks away here. Where I'm going to sort this by ADP and not my ranks because that'll make it a little confusing.
Okay.
Actually, we could sort it by ranks. I don't know. How do you want to do this?
Okay, so just being mindful of what's around us, right? Higglesworth has 2 outfielders already. I think Santander is probably the correct pick here, but if we're trying to go crazy with the stack, I don't want him to snipe Machado. I don't think that's going to happen, so I would take Santander here.
I would risk it to build the super team. I think Santander is the right play here from like a ability to reach a ceiling. If he wants to snipe me and do some, we can take another one of these premium infielders. So like we have options.
Well, and with the Santander thing, what you just opened up, if we wanted to, is the speculative Alonso to Toronto stack.
Okay, there we go. San
Machado
Diego. I appreciate that. This has the start of a team that could cook.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Now, the question is, if this team is correct and that outfield is right, you can shut off outfield for a little bit. You know that, okay? I know you're probably going to want to draft at least 1, if not 2 infielders, but this, I think, is a build where you could go out of your comfort zone and go a little bit earlier on pitcher than you normally do, if you wanted to. I wouldn't blame you for waiting, but you said you wanted to build teams a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to, you could start taking your pitching in round 6 if there's not a infielder in 5. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the way last year I had a hard rule of 0 pitchers through 5 innings. That is how I'm drafting. No one could convince me otherwise. And this year I'm not as firm with that rule. I am very much a planned drafter, so I know I'm going to do 100 drafts this year. I want my portfolio to roughly look like this across the structures and so on, both starting structure as well as like total structure for the draft. And I'm getting to some like hero pitcher builds this year. And the way I've been playing it is essentially if one of them pops up at an extreme value, I'll take them. This round 5-6 pitchers, but if not, I'm not going to take one early. But if you got one that you want to convince me there, like we'll cross that bridge at the time. But like I'm definitely getting a little bit of exposure. But I do also find that this rule of taking the one that falls, I'm just getting a bunch of sale, and I don't want that either. So I need to make sure it's like get the cheap versions of these pitchers, but also make sure it's a balanced portfolio, not just 25% sale because he's the only one that falls.
Yeah, and going early pitcher this year feels better than previous years because going early pitcher means you've got 5 or 6 elite bats in your lineup already. Like that's different than only having 3, So again, the way I try to build my teams, every single team I build, I'm like, okay, if this team is correct, if people are healthy, and if I'm right on these players, what is the best way to construct this team? And that's kind of why I'm thinking with the way that you've started this team with 3 great outfielders, with, you know, 2 of them being stacked together, I really think that we'll see, you know, what infielders are there when we get there, but you really could double tap elite pitchers and you're not going to fall behind at infield because there's always infielders to draft.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm like, that's so against like my heart of hearts, like what I want to do at my core, because like my core is build some level of optionality to being wrong. I know that like build like you're right, but I want to have multiple ways to be right and not just one avenue of being right. So
I mean, the stream is called Off the Rails, you know.
Off the rails, right? So like if I say on the rails, that's not right.
Let's take this team and turn it into a train wreck. All right, let's do that.
And the beauty of why last year's team is so amazing is that it was a combination of what we both like to do. It wasn't just me saying, "Go away, Jason."
I'm doing zero pitcher. Damn it!
This is my show, not your show. Okay. Oh, okay. So we're up in a couple. We're no Brenton Doyle. I have way too much. Somewhere else.
I was going to say, if Albies came to you, that is a snap, not even think about it pick.
Okay, so a pitcher or your boy Luis? Like, what are you thinking?
I mean, I kind of like Simeon. We can stack him. I don't have much of him, but he just feels like a solid play right here. And then if it were me, I would go either Snell or Reagans. I would go Snell.
I really like Snell.
Yeah.
In general, I'm a little nervous about the way that the Dodgers are going to handle their rotation. That 2-start week may not be as likely or it's going to be relatively unlikely for them. That being said, I think the workhorse is Snell of the team.
Yes. And
that's weird, but
his start upside is insane.
Insane.
Yeah. And
we talked about the chart that I had posted about like Fried. That's kind of Snell breaks that chart. That's a Snell chart.
And I hope you're cool with that Simeon pick. That the thought process there is he had kind of a bad season last year. And he still put up like 1,300 points. You know, like he's there every day. And I think they're going to back off of him just a little bit, not play him every single game, but he's going to be in the lineup almost every single day. I expect that lineup to be elite again. And he can just Marcus Semien his way into 1,500 points this year if things go right. So like, I don't love it, but just with the structure of this team, I didn't really want us to double tap pitcher there. And I don't know how much into O'Neal Cruz I am. It just Semien just kind of felt like the right way to go there to me.
Yeah, my brain. It's like Semien. It's like he's an elite compiler with also juice too. So it's the best of both worlds in that sense. So I like him in general. I like playing Texas. I think they were a little disappointing last year, and they're good. There's a lot of room to rebound this year. Yeah, there wasn't like elite value at pitching to double tap there. If it had been Gilbert Reagans, I would have taken that or something. But like that's not what we had there. I was looking at, and maybe he's going to do it here. Is playing Altuve and Walker. That would be real.
He gets sniped.
Jerk. Like I do feel like something like, oh, like when people like that, like, why'd you do that to me when they take the player that I wanted? But yeah, no, it's nothing to it. But yeah, I was thinking Altuve Walker is also is like a stack, but this is, I like this.
We're setting up, if we want, there's ways to stack Texas later too. I mean, we took Josh Young on my team. Evan Carter's there. I have a ton of him in the bullpen. I've backed off a little bit because I do have some playing time concerns with him. So I want to see how he's projecting and what his spring looks like before I get back in on him. But we've got him there. We've got Peterson. So there's ways to still access that Texas offense without having to get Wyatt, Adolis, or Seager.
Mm-hmm. Junior Caminero, how high is he going to end up?
If he keeps dancing after hitting bombs, like high 50s.
Oh my gosh, that was like, I felt like I had so much joy watching that, but I was also like, run the bases, dude. Like,
yeah. your get off my lawn came out, huh?
And I was like, that's the brand of baseball I love. It's like in your face, like play as fast and as hard, and like yell, like just the full tilt baseball. But like, I was just like, this is it takes him a minute to run the bases. It is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, it is. Welcome, Nez. Thank you for hopping in, man. You're watching us draft the highest scoring team in the 2025 Dinger right now. So, yes.
So where are we going here?
Pablo Lopez, man. I don't understand this price on him. I really like him. We took Framber on my team, so we could do that. We could do the Kirby thing. But I feel like this is, with the build that you have, this is where you could double tap pitcher if you wanted to. But I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to take like a Ward or a Cassis or something like that. I'm really in on Cassis this year.
So look at this rank I have on him. 68.
Perfect. Love
And this is where, like, if you're ever going to look at my ranks, it's not, don't import auto draft. Like, that is not the intent of them. You will get a really weird team. But that being said, it was like such a good exercise to go through and rank every player and look at what the projections are. Like, I definitely am the kind of drafter who like won't even look at the like baseball for larger chunks of the year kind of deal. Don't play in the dailies really a ton. So getting back to the projections, looking at everyone and what they're projected to do, their home run rates, all this kind of stuff was really helpful. And like Cassis is someone who I'm like, there's really 40 home run upside, and he's had like a short sprints. He's never had like a full season, but when he has been playing, he's been really productive. He's got this, like, I could see from like a traditional fantasy baseball perspective how he's going to be frustrating because he's not going to run. He's going to have a low batting average and stuff like that, but like major power and a good place to hit ultimately in Fenway. So really high on him.
And if Fenway's gonna contend, especially offensively, like he needs to be that dude. He really does. Mm-hmm. He is one of those guys who was getting a decent amount of steam last year. Like, I know Tuma was really in on him last year, and was a big reason why he got steamed a little bit. And he's fallen back down. And I'm with you. I mean, I just think there's 35 plus home run power in that bat. He's just got to stay on the field,
Yeah, and, for sure.
He's an odd little duck. He's a fun character. So we like fun characters on our team every once in a while. Can I ask you, sorry, I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I want to ask you your thoughts on Spencer Strider. And maybe it's not an overall question, because I feel different about him in the bunt than I do in the eliminator than I do in the dinger, but I want to know what your thoughts are on Strider.
I'm going to have exposure to Strider. It's just going to be not until later. I don't really see a point in like drafting someone now that has injury, like that is not going to be starting the season, is going to have like serious injury risks, or I don't know. And then when he comes back, how much are they going to actually throw him? Are they going to let him go full tilt? Or are they going to stop him at 5 innings? So I am having patience on him. I also can't really see him going like that much higher on the board. So I'm just having patience.
I get that.
I'm playing it.
The only way that's going to happen is if we get to spring and he looks incredible already, and like maybe they slow walk him a little bit, but people aren't going to care about that if he's out there going nuts,
Yeah,
So,
like the timeline doesn't have him having this massive spring boost, so I don't really feel exposed to some massive price increase. Where are we going here? I think this pitcher. I also like Soler to hit a bunch of home runs.
I'm in on Soler. I think the Angels' offense is going to be better than we think, and that park is pretty good for home runs, and that's what he does when he's good. So I'm with you on that one.
Ooh, this is a fun build. I always want like 404. That's a fun start or interesting start.
Yeah,
I will look back at this and see how he wraps it up.
Yeah, he's building it's got to be a 686, I think. And I love doing builds like that every once in a while. Like you guys showed on Stacking Dingers that those, the 7s and 6s are the way to go, like optimally. But I do think you can make some of those fun builds on occasion. Hunter Brown, yeah.
So I think Hunter Brown's going to be really good. Some of his stats from last year are a little skewed in the sense like he had a really, really bad start and then got so much better. He definitely needs, like, when translating into like the underdog format, he didn't really hit a ton of ceiling games, but he's the type of player who could grow a little bit. All he needs to grow is a little bit more. And what is it, Brown? Like, he had 170 innings last year. When everyone was like, it's a 200, and then he becomes a really good pick. So, like, I don't know. I want to have a mix of him, and we just picked Grayson, and I have a bunch of Graysons, so I thought I'd Hunter Brown.
Yeah, I have a pretty solid chunk of Hunter Brown across all of my drafts. I'm going to look at my exposures real quick. So this is across all of the, you know what? Yeah, I'm just going to do all of the 2025 season slate. So that's bunt, little eliminator, and dinger for me currently. So 46 teams, and I've got, I'm only at 13% Hunter Brown. I've got like 30% in the bullpen though. So I need to bump that number up a little bit because I'm with you. I think that he looks like a pretty solid pick in that spot.
And with this early pitcher investment, this is a 6-pitcher team, which I haven't done a crazy amount of, but that's totally fine. I do want to comment on something that you said though. So that 6 and 7 per position is what we've kind of deemed as optimal. And that's just staying balanced across the board, 6 to 7 at every single one. And that 8 may have some level of like downside to it, but I don't necessarily think that 8 is inherently wrong in any position, because I think that 8 pitcher, true zero, like punt pitcher, 0 pitcher builds work. There's also like the 8 infielders or 8 outfielders that can work too. If you're going to draft 8, you have to do it the right way. If you draft 6 pitchers and you overinvest that pitcher, you're still likely to be okay, because directionally you have only 6, not 7. So you have less bodies. But by drafting 8 of them, that means you have to be like price sensitive. And so there's like a lot more room for error in those edge case builds of an 8 in at one position. So it's doable. I think it's viable and sometimes even optimal, but you just have to be like sharp with it.
Yeah. I think just for me, if I'm doing an 8 build in any one position, the one position that I will not do an 8 in on purpose, I have a couple auto draft teams that got there because I'm an idiot, forgot they were going, but I can't do 8 outfielders. Like that just feels so terrible to me because of how bad outfield gets. Like I'm okay with throwing 2 darts on playing time concerns or potential bad outfielders. I'm not okay doing that with 4 or 5. And I feel like that's what you would have to do to correctly build a 6-6-8 team.
Yeah, I agree. So like I'm 100% locked up with you on that. So the I don't get boxed out of outfield.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
If you're gonna try an 8 build in one position, don't screw around with the outfield. That's gonna be ugly real quick.
How do you want to go here?
Let's see. We got a 3-3-4. Yeah,
a little bit of redemption.
Yeah. I was definitely gonna take Jordan Westburg on that previous team. So let's do it.
I'm like at ADP with him. After we make this next pick, do you want to sell me on him?
On Westburg?
Yeah.
I don't have. This is just I'm hoping I know ball take. So yes, I can do that.
Anti Cedric Mullins. I like it because of stacking, and I think Baltimore is going to be good.
Yeah, I'm totally out on him because I'm so worried about playing time concerns. Go ahead. I mean, if you want to go ahead and stack him, like I'm not going to stop you. You know, I totally get the merit, but I'm just kind of had playing time concerns the last couple of years, which I think is actually like I don't understand that. I think it's kind of ridiculous. Like I kind of want him if he's not going to play every day in Baltimore, just trade him, please. Just get him somewhere else where he can play every single day. Because I think Cedric Mullins is a better player than the playing time that he's been getting the last couple of years.
Okay, that's fair. I need to do, and we're going to do a breakdown on stacking dingers of like each team and looking at the depth charts and like that stuff. So I am behind market on Cedric Mullins, but I also like the stack, and I don't know. I just again must not get boxed out at outfield. So fine with the pick. But tell me about Westburg. You said it's a no ball pick.
Yeah, I don't have data to look at. Like I'll look up his. I mean, you know, obviously Baseball Savant is just one piece of the puzzle, but I'll look at his page. But I just feel like if there's a guy in a good offense who could break out this year, like I just remember Jordan Westburg while he was playing last year just being very, very solid and very good. And then I believe he got hurt. Yeah, he had 447 plate appearances last year, 18 home runs. Like if you extrapolate that out to, you know, a 500 plus or 600 at bat season, I mean, he's at what, 26, 27-ish home runs. His Baseball Savant page has quite a bit of red. His xWOBA looks great. Expected batting average, slugging, average exit velocity, sweet spot, hard hit. Like that stuff all looks really good. I'm hoping he can increase his walk rate because he doesn't walk. And that will help his accumulation. But Baltimore is probably going to have a really good offense. And I just remembered him being very, very solid last year. And so that is my take at the moment without, consulting with the bat or anything like that. He just feels like a guy who could have that breakout this year.
Yeah. I guess I need to do a little more research on him because, I mean, visually there's a bunch of red on this page right here. xWOBA, expected batting average, and so on. Bat speed, I'm like, I definitely want someone with typically more power, and I don't know if he's going to have it, but this is also an abbreviated season last year, so yeah, something I'll definitely take a look back on it. Make sure
I don't know that he's going to I don't know he's going to hit 35 home runs and put up a 1,500 point season, but just kind of in this range of infielder, kind of where you get him. He's been climbing up the board steadily, so we'll just kind of have to see where his price settles. But I've just been gravitating to him, just kind of banking on the breakout happening this year in a solid offense.
Mhm.
That's my case, without any numbers other than Savant.
We're up in a couple picks. Don't want to jinx it, but I have someone in mind.
I think we might have the same person in mind.
Oh yeah, we definitely do.
Let's see if our dreams get crushed.
This was like last year when we drafted the team, and I had Jake Berger, and like we both were in love with Jake Berger at that time. It was great.
Yeah, we were. I remember you. I'll let you make your pick, and then I'll go. Yeah, cover boy, do it. Yes. Welcome, Michael Tolia. Before I go back into that, like, feel like so we got a 3-5-5 build. This feels like a good spot to take a picture, and I doubt Higglesworth is going to take one. So I think we have our pick of the litter here.
JB Gigglesworth. Oh, that's a name. So he took a picture, one, so we are just wrong.
I think he
in that
autoed,
sense.
actually.
Yeah. We'll see if he takes Mason Wynn, then we know he's autoing. Nope.
Okay, no.
Um,
Good pick. He's smart.
So I've been taking a lot of Mackenzie Gore.
Okay.
Do you have another name in mind, or is that fine with you?
We like tight pants around here. So Robbie Ray, he's really climbed, but he has a lot of question marks. I'm good with the Gore thing. Go ahead and do that.
Okay.
I like it. Robbie Ray is a gigantic question mark. Coming off of injury, he profiles really well for this type of game. Like, I don't care about the starts where he walks 7 guys because it doesn't happen that often. Like, you can just do without it. I want those starts.
Literally 0 negative. He can walk 7 guys and it has 0 impact on this as long as they don't score.
Exactly. He can walk 7 guys and still throw like 5 innings and have 8 strikeouts and give up no runs theoretically. Like, that would be really hard to do. But point being, walks don't hurt you. But the starts that I care about are the ones where he remembers how to pitch and it's like, oh, he just dropped 14 Ks on somebody's head. Like, but I don't know what to expect out of him coming off of injury. So he felt really, really good when we were getting him in like the 190s or 200s, I think. It's a little bit more of a tough pill to swallow at this current price. But if he's that guy again who flashed, I mean, he's had a couple of great seasons. And if he's still that dude, like, I don't want to have none of him and just get completely dunked on by him in the playoffs, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I like that. And I like San Francisco is such a great place to pitch. So it's like a great landing spot for him. Yeah, so I'm definitely in a good environment to put up big numbers this year. Mackenzie Gore has been someone I've been drafting a ton just because I'm a big believer in listen to people that are smarter than you in like a certain field. So, and Lance Brostowski is a much sharper baseball analyst than I am. So he's on television. So
you're not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. When I win the Dinger, ESPN's going to interview. No, that's not going to happen. Oh, imagine one day. Maybe if you win Best Ball Mania, then you could get in
maybe.
ESPN. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see if Corain ever shows up on First Take or something, right?
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, Mackenzie Gore is a name that he's like one tweak away and he's got superstar in him. And also, if you look at Mackenzie Gore's numbers from last year, he went on like outrageous runs, like where he was great and then he was trash and then he finished the season great. So like, I'm hopeful that he can put up a big season.
We got a nice message from our friend Eeyore here. Fun fact, Michael Tolia projects for the same WRC plus as Jose Abreu and Brian Hayes in the Bat X. That doesn't make me feel great.
That doesn't sound good.
No, that seems bad.
I'm going to counter with that. in one point though that WRC plus is a function of like player talent. It has nothing to do with production. So the being in Colorado is a bonus that will not be impacted in WRC plus. So I don't care maybe that he's so bad, but we should make a pick.
Yeah, that pick should be Brandon Woodruff.
Okay, we could do that. Are you of the mindset that he is healthy? I guess obviously.
Yeah, it's just one of those. If he's healthy, he feels like a potential smash. That's a big if, but this pitching staff is solid enough that we can take on a risk like him, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so where are we gonna go here?
If we want to do the Texas stack thing, we can with Young.
I do, and
Yeah,
you're both right-handed. I think they might be overthinking it to do like you stack righties together and you stack lefties together, but I don't know. Part of me thinks it's smart.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a little too nuanced.
Yeah, I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that I'm probably overthinking it, and I don't really make that have really any impact on my decisions. But I don't know. In my brain, it makes me feel a little bit better.
I mean, maybe who knows? Maybe it's an edge. I don't know. To Sheep's point here about Tolia projecting bad WRC plus, I'm pretty sure the entire Rockies lineup, I think they're last in WRC plus, or either them or the White Sox. Which, if the Rockies are behind the White Sox in WRC plus, like I mean, the embarrassment there is unreal.
Can you see this?
I can. Yeah.
And maybe this is like this gotta be something funky. Are they this bad? Or is there something here with this WRC plus projection which is supposed to pull back the fact that like park factors, is it maybe the Rockies adjustment is too much here, or they are that bad? Like something feels wrong here that the entire team is they're that bad.
Yeah, I mean they might be. I mean they actually might be, but with Nolan Jones specifically, I'm just kind of like, let's throw last year out and let's go back to the hype that led to us taking him in the third round last year. Okay. I want to believe that there's some of that talent there, and I'm willing to pay a 14th round price or whatever he's going at right now. The fact that Keston Hiura is showing up with this like tied for the highest WRC plus with 10 games is objectively hilarious because he has shown he's not a major league player. So I don't know really what to make of this Rockies offense, but I mean, you want them when they're playing in Colorado. You just don't want them where they're playing anywhere else.
Yeah, and like as much I guess they could be that bad, and they're not. No one's thought that they've been good for a while, but I don't know. These numbers don't feel right. Like, or something feels like direct. I don't know that the park is too much, or maybe they are right. I don't know, but
yeah. We'll have to see how it plays out over the season. But I do believe in the power of Tolia. Maybe he can string together a 4 or 5 home run week when you really need it. I'd like to see his price fall a little bit more, but it doesn't feel horrible to click his name. Mm-hmm. But obviously these projections are very concerning.
Yeah, something that I'll consider, but
I can't have anything give me hope with Chris Bryant. So that helped me not have hope for Chris Bryant. I have to let go of 2016 Chris Bryant.
Yeah.
All right, man. What are you thinking here?
I don't know. get another outfield on this team. So that's going to be like the easy one. Jesus Sanchez is like break glasses in case of emergency. Going to get outfield at bats in the core of the lineup.
I definitely think you can make a case for Newt Bar too, but Sanchez feels potentially a little bit more fun, maybe.
Yeah.
This is a pretty rough range.
Yeah, this is where I typically have been going pitching. You can see I got some pretty aggressive ranks on Lodolo and Gavin Williams.
I love Gavin Williams. Hey, as an homage to the team from last year, I feel like we should take Lodolo.
Yeah, I agree. I read an article that I always like doing Lodolo research, and I read an article about how someone thought he was this year's Scooble, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's not what I need to read right now, because he's sitting in the 18th, 19th, 20th round, and he's getting that's Billy's going to end up with 50% of him if that's the case. But so yeah, I'm a big believer in him this year. Like low arm slot lefty that throws pretty hard. That's like my baseball like sense being like, ooh, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean the strikeout ability is there. Obviously, his home ballpark is less than ideal, but I don't know. Like, I feel like this late, a lot of these pitchers are just kind of, you're throwing darts hoping you get something right. I love Gavin Williams. I think that he's too cheap. I've also been getting a lot of Merrill Kelly. He feels pretty safe, but Lodolo feels like, a fun young guy who hopefully can just stay on the field and maybe put it together a little bit this year.
100%.
And let's be honest, part of me wants revenge for last year because he's one of the like two players that we got quote wrong on that team from last year. So kind of like a redemption arc, right? Like you broke my heart for last year, so fix it.
He wasn't even that wrong. He gave
it really wasn't. It really
300
wasn't
points or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand. I'm not done with this Tolia point. Like this WRC plus. I don't know. I feel attacked because Tolia is like definitely part of my strategy, and this is maybe me trying to chase last year's Brent Rooker, but I feel like the knock on Brent Rooker last year is that he swings and misses a lot, but he has a ton of power, and I was like, I don't know. I was pro Brent Rooker last year, so maybe this is me just being like blindly ignoring some red flags there when they are there. So maybe I do need to reevaluate.
They're there. I'll put Sheep in timeout for a little bit for personally attacking you. Does that sound good?
Oh no, it's fine.
I don't even know what that means. I see it as an option, and I have absolutely no clue what would happen if I clicked it. So I'm not going to do it. But yeah, there's obviously, Colorado's going to be atrocious as a team, but I really think that they're going to be one of those interesting offenses to see, like, are those projections dead on and they're just a complete and total train wreck, or do they have a couple guys kind of like, break out or bounce back or something?
Yeah, and it's I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm excited to comb through the bat. That's definitely what tonight looks like after this show.
Yeah. Get on your guy, Chris, and have him make his fancy little spreadsheet for us. That'd be lovely.
Oh, I got my own spreadsheets. They just don't go public.
Okay, perfect. He just gives away the secret sauce. What are you thinking here? You said this is a 6-pitcher build, do you feel like, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I could be convinced into it. A 7. Yeah, let's do 6 though, and then
Okay. You're going to go with Wilson here, or there you go.
I really
Man,
like Wilson Contreras.
You've got him ranked pretty well above ADP.
I'm
hear about
like
that.
really high on him. Him playing first base is really interesting to me in terms of like just total volume that he hasn't gotten historically. But that's where my rankings don't translate to like draft and plug in. I know you're mentioning Garrett Mitchell as someone that's been increasing in value and or getting drafted earlier, and this seems like a pretty good share in an outfield that needs maybe a bump, but you could take a pitch or two. I don't know.
I would just do the outfielder. I think that's probably the way to go. You know, there's a lot of potential red flags with Garrett Mitchell. You know, the Brewers have enough outfielders. He was getting platooned a little bit last year. He's had trouble staying healthy. I just keep leaning into the fact that he was the 12th overall pick in a draft one time. And so they must have seen something potentially special in him. But I have seen people, you know, especially in the roto streets, kind of talking about how, you know, he could potentially be a 2020 kind of breakout candidate. And, you know, especially late outfield. I mean, if you can find that guy, it was Josh Lowe in 2023, right? He was the guy who like wasn't being drafted in every draft. And then he went out and put up like 1,100 points or something with the 2020 season out of nowhere. Like if you have that guy, especially at outfield, that's so thin, like finding that guy is huge. And I'm just kind of like, hopefully he's the one this year.
Yeah. So where you are, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was thinking about, you know, if we wanted to get really weird there, but I kind of want, you know, your thoughts on this guy, and maybe Sheep, if you're still here. Is Joey Ortiz any good in Milwaukee? Because I was thinking he could be your final infielder to pair with Mitchell if you wanted to do like a stack, but I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing names out there, trying to find some new guys to draft late to kind of mix up my exposures a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to defer this to Sheep when we can on the show. Okay. I don't have any answers for you here, but we'll make sure this is covered in the next episode as a friend of the pod.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Brendan, pleasure's ours, man. Thank you for coming out. If you guys could, if you're still here, I should have mentioned this a long time ago, but I'm an amateur, so whatever. Hopefully you guys had a good time live. If you're watching this after the fact, hopefully you enjoyed it. I always love drafting with Billy. Again, you know, drafting the highest scoring team in the entire Dinger and for the 2024 contest was really cool to be a part of. So congratulations to you, Billy, for having that team. That was awesome to see. But if you could like the video, you know, if you had a good time, subscribe. We got Billy here at SportsVizBJ on Twitter X, part of the Stacking Dingers crew. So you can find him over there. If you're not subscribed to the Stacking Dingers channel, you need to go do that. And you have to check out the most recent episode on stacking. They did an amazing job with that. And, you know, Billy's got his own channel as well. Not sure if you're going to do much solo stuff with, you know, being involved in the Stacking Dingers thing, but, you know, you've got some videos out on your own channel that I think are great from last year too.
Yeah, last year was fun. I'm sure you could definitely take a look back at those and somewhat relevant, even though the pitching market's so wildly different. But this draft is done. We've wrapped up with like a 6-7-7, a classic build. Overall, a really good team. I think definitely different than how I draft and different than how you draft, but it's a combination of the two of us. And I could see how this team could get cooking. So,
yeah, I think it's a fun team.
It's a good one.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah, Dark Sheep chiming in. Joey Ortiz is about as meh as Mitchell. We will not tolerate that slander, but you might be right. But Mitchell is outfield, so it's okay. He's spreading out his attacking. I appreciate that. An equal opportunity hater. I love it. All right, man. That was a ton of fun. Again, I love getting together with you and drafting. Thank you so much for coming on. This will definitely not be the last time that you and I get together this year. I hope everybody had a great time. So for Billy, for myself, my name is Jason, aka Woo Woo J Train. This is Off the Rails. Hope you guys had a great time. We will see you on the next one. All right. Take care.